Hello and welcome to the Met Office 10-day trend, the first of this meteorological winter. And the weather's taking a wintry turn. Colder air is moving in and, yes, bringing some wintry hazards. Certainly over the next 48 hours, warnings have been issued for snow and ice. But even beyond 48 hours, well into next week, the cold theme looks like persisting. Let's take a look at the pressure pattern because, as I said, there's a lot going on, especially in the next 48 hours. A front swinging across the country at the moment introduces the colder air. And then this rather innocuous-looking weather front out in the Atlantic becomes the troublemaker. It spins up into an area of low pressure on Thursday morning down to the southwest, initially bringing heavy rain across the south during a good part of Thursday and some strong and gusty winds. But instead of swishing off into the near continent like most of these lows do, it curves northwards and then hangs around for most of the weekend. Why is it behaving like that? Well, let's rewind the clock and look at the bigger picture, including the jet stream, because it's the jet stream that picks up that innocuous-looking weather front, develops it into a low in the first place. But then the jet drives south and creates a trough. It dips to the south and then pushes northwards, and that kind of encapsulates the low. It blocks it from moving away to the east, and instead allows it to push further north. And if we zoom in on that low, we'll see that it's bringing relatively mild air across the south initially, with cold air further north. That's why we have warnings in force for snow and ice across Scotland into Thursday morning. But it's rain across the south that low initially brings, before it then pushes northwards, hits the colder air, and then we could see some significant snow coming out of it on Friday morning across parts of northern England and parts of Scotland. Now, snow is often in the balance at this time of year. The ground hasn't had time to cool down, so there's still some uncertainty, a lot to play for. And as that low moves in, well, it will start to lift the temperatures. So timing is going to be key. It doesn't look like it's going to snow all day, far from it. But in the morning, to lower levels, there is the threat of some snow. And certainly over the hills for much of Friday across parts of Scotland, we could see some quite heavy snow. Either of those could cause some disruption. And then further south, a possibility of a hint of snow coming back in there. A lot of uncertainty about that, but that's another area we need to watch. So Friday's snowfall, yes, could cause some disruption, particularly in the morning. Heavy snow on hills, but even some to low levels across parts of northern England and Scotland for a time. What happens into the weekend? Well, there's nowhere for that low to go. We saw it earlier. It's being held in place almost by the jet stream. We've got low pressure at the surface, but also low pressure aloft. And when that happens, there's nothing really to shift the weather patterns. So that low sticks around, bringing gusty winds still on Saturday and showers. But things do get a little bit milder through the weekend, so snow becomes less of a risk. There'll still be some on hills in particular, but snow at low levels, the chances of that this weekend are reducing. Mostly it's just going to be rain or hail that we see, but there will be some heavy showers around through the weekend. But as the low starts to drift away, well, the isobars spread apart, so Sunday looks less windy and probably not as many showers around either. So a better chance of seeing some sunny spells on Sunday. So the weekend summary, it's basically sunshine and showers, still some wintriness to those showers, but chiefly only over hills. A bit more sunshine around and winds gradually easing during the weekend. That will continue into the early part of next week, with Monday at the moment looking largely dry across the UK. We've got a bit of a ridge of high pressure, but there's a lot of uncertainty, particularly in the details. As we go into next week, there's a threat that the low that's drifted away over the weekend could push back in from the east, but equally there's low pressure lurking by this stage out in the Atlantic that could push in from the west. So a bit of a battleground going on. And if we look at the jet stream as well, it's not really going to shift things anywhere. It's kind of at an angle down to the southwest of the UK, so it's not pushing the weather systems on. So again, we're on the cold side of the jet with slow moving weather systems, and that's looking how it's going to set up for much of next week. This next chart, we call it a meteogram. This one is for Birmingham, showing the temperature trend. Those red blobs on the top are always below the main red line, which is the average, suggesting that temperatures will be below average for most of next week. Perhaps a hint of an uptick towards the end of next week, but most of next week looking like staying on the cold side. There's a lot of uncertainty through the weekend and beyond. So details for next week, well, we're not going to know those until much closer to the time. But it does stay on the cold side, which means a continued risk of wintry hazards, frost, ice, and the potential for further sleet and snow. But for details, you will have to stay tuned, keep up to date with the very latest from the Met Office, and please check out those weather warnings that are on the Met Office website and on our app. And of course, always the very latest if you follow us on social media.